everybody, Rick with Let's Level Up here, and we're going to be talking about the brand new, coming out actually later this June, Spell Tome expansion from Mage Wars. This is Forged in Fire. Now, what makes it a Spell Tome expansion is not actually going to give us any brand spanking new mages. It is, however, going to give us new 158 cards plus 2 reimagined mages. And I feel definitely the Warlord is better than its predecessor, but the Warlock is right there as well. So if you haven't already guessed, we've got the Adremelech Warlock and the Anvil Throne Warlord that are going to be our contenders here. But before we get into those, I wanted to express a couple things. One, this is going to be the first part of a few different video series regarding Forged in Fire. I'd like to do this video as being my official review for it and mainly talk about what I like, some of the cards that I like, and how I feel this is going to help Mage Wars at its core. In the next video, I'd like to go over a deck list and show you all the different cards in detail. And then finally, maybe show you a playthrough on this. If you guys are interested in seeing that, I can get one of my would-be friends. I say would-be friends. One of my friends and would-be challenger to come and take on me as we play through this and just play with the cards in the new expansion so you could see some of that. So I'd welcome any and all feedback that you have. Please hit me up on Twitter at Let's Level Up. Now, before we get into the actual cards, I'd like to point out a few things on the box that I really like. This is the best box that they've ever done by far. It's got a nice magnetic lock here that latches everything into place, and then it keeps everything again just here in the box. So we have all of our different tokens, the rule booklet here. It's also got a spot for you to store the cards, but what's really cool, and if you've been paying attention to the official Mage Wars YouTube channel, this component comes out and actually allows you to be able to put your favorite Mage Wars book in here and then close it up for easy carrying, so you don't have to worry about your book getting damaged or not rustling around in the bag. It's just a brilliant idea, and one I thought that they put a lot of thought into, and one that really shows how Arcane Wonders as an organization is evolving. And that's something that I don't think gamers pay enough attention to. The companies that make these games, are they doing what they can to improve, not just mechanically, but thematically and component-wise, the games that we've come to love, which I have with Mage Wars. For example, here's the Forged in Fire box, and here's the Conquest of Humanjaro box, an excellent Spell Tome expansion. This gave us a new Priest and a new Beastmaster. But as you can see, the box itself is just really cardboard. It's not that thick at all, and it's got just spots for you to hold the cards in. And this is fine. If this was the status quo, then no one would be the wiser. And if they gave us another one of these, it wouldn't have been a big deal. But instead, they took the onus to make this box high quality component, really thick cardboard. It's got an awesome art insert in here, and it gives you a little bit more of a theme and flair for Forged in Fire. And all around, just a better improved product. So thank you, Arcane Wonders, for doing this. Okay, so now let's talk about our two favorite new mages here. We've got the Adremelech Warlock, and she is a bit of a glass cannon. Her abilities are going to allow you to place burn and control burn a lot more effectively than we could in the past. For instance, she has a fire weaving and ability that allows you to just essentially spread burn around the table and make sure that all of your enemies are on fire. It's just one of those things that she's going to be able to deal a lot of damage. Unfortunately, it's going to make her a bit more of a target, and since she doesn't have any really natural armor and schooled in the dark and fire, she doesn't have a lot of ways to prevent or mitigate damage with base. So if you're going to want to keep her on the table, you're going to have to spend more spell points when you're building those books to give her some additional things. Or you can say to heck with that, let's just go 100% balls to the wall, assault skills, and you basically just try to overpower your enemies, which she's going to be great at doing. She's going to deal a lot of damage, and it's one of the things that's going to make her a very formidable challenger. Her counterpart in this is the Anvil Throne Warlord. Now this is the first dwarf mage in Etheria, and I think this is something for me, thematically, I really enjoy. So if you're unfamiliar with the general story behind this, is that the Anvil Throne dwarfs have essentially burrowed down into Adremelech's area, and that's really made him upset. So they're basically warring over these precious minerals because dwarves are the best as craftsmen in all the land. So Adremelech is sending his henchmen out, the Adremelech Warlock, to take care of this guy. And this is going to be, again, not really part of what we're doing here with Mage Wars. It allows you to get a little bit more immersion though in the game, which I think is something for a player like me, I really appreciate that. So the Anvil Throne Warlord is different than his counterpart, and I think better because of his primary ability, which is Runesmithing. Runesmithing actually allows him to place a magical rune on equipment that he casts that gives it additional benefit. For example, you can place a rune on a piece of armor to give it 2 additional armor and make it that much more powerful. You can also give something a defense with a different rune, which is, again, another huge and powerful utility. He also has all the same, or rather not the same, but the same kind of ability in shouting orders to his undersary, or rather his creatures that he has on the table, to be able to make them a little bit stronger in that turn. So again, there's about 158 cards here in all that are going to come in this expansion. So I'd say you need to get Forged in Fire for a few reasons if you're a big fan of Mage Wars. One, you're going to get the first ever dragon printed in this set. It's Sardonyx. He's actually a bit of an undead dragon. He is dark, so it's going to make your Necromancer and Warlock decks just that more imposing, having a really big, fearsome creature in there. It's got a lot of different conjurations that I feel are going to make for very exciting games, and it comes with one of my favorite new attack spells, the Devil's Trident. This thing is awesome. It deals 4 base damage and has 3 different effects that it can deal on the effect die. So basically each spear of the trident, or spearhead of the trident, point of the trident, however you'd say that, has a different ability that it can do. And essentially you roll a d12 and it picks one of those heads that's going to hit you. So it's basically cripple, and burn, or just burn. And either of those is just nasty. And if you happen to get that middle area there where you get cripple and burn, it's just not a good day for whoever's getting that. There are a ton of new curses and abilities that come in the different enchantments, and also a host of new incantations that'll allow you to give you those one-off abilities and buffs that make games last a little bit longer in those good gotcha moments. So all in all, what we're going to do now is take a little bit closer look at the mages themselves, and then we're going to wrap that up and give you our final thoughts. Okay, first up to the scale is the Adramelech Warlock. Now you can see the artwork here. She's actually one of my favorite looking mages. It's just such a great job went into to designing her just aesthetically. She just looks awesome. Pretty standard here for her core ability, or rather for her core stat. She's got 120 spellbook points, 33 health, 0 base armor, and a 9 channeling score. Of course, she is trained both in dark and fire. And her exception is that she's so anti-holy. Rather than paying double to put a holy spell into her spellbook, you'd have to actually pay triple to do so. She has 3 primary abilities here. The first of which is Fire Weaving. Fire Weaving says once per round at the end of her action phase, the Warlock may target an object up to 2 zones away. She may move a burn condition from that object to another target object in that same zone. So this allows her to basically spread burn around the table. So if you have a burn condition on something that you know is going to die pretty soon, you can take that valuable burn condition and put it on something that's got a bit more health, which I think is huge. Her next ability is Smoldering Curses, and I'm actually going to zoom in here just briefly. Get a little closer here. Smoldering Curses says enemy creatures gain Flame +1 trait if they have 1 or more revealed curses you control attached to them. So if you have a revealed curse on a creature, Smoldering Curses will make them a little bit more prone to fire. You get an additional fire damage die anytime you're doing a flame-based attack, which is nice. And then Demonic Reward, it says if a friendly demon attacks and damages an enemy creature with the burn condition, it may heal 1 damage. Each friendly demon may only trigger this ability once per round. This is awesome. Demonic Reward allows us, especially with the new demons, a lot of really, really cool combination abilities, and having the ability to have those demons stay on the board longer because of that. And what I really think is cool here is her base attack, Burning Touch. It's a quick action, melee action, fire-based attack that deals 1 combat damage but it does burn on 5 or higher. That is a really high percentage to get a burn condition out there, and then from there, exercise Smoldering Curses, Demonic Reward, or even Fire Weave it onto a different target, which is awesome. Again, the Dromonic Warlock is going to be a formidable challenger to anybody who steps in against her. Next up, we have the Anvil Throne Warlord. This is our Dwarven friend. Such an awesome looking artwork. Again, just really, really, really great job there, guys. 120 spellbook points, 34 health, 0 natural armor, and 9 channeling. Again, trained in the schools of war and earth magic, much like his predecessor. I would expect the warlords to have a bit more base health than they do, but it's kind of it makes sense because they have so much. They have so many abilities and things that make them harder, have better mitigation. So they may not have as much health as the Beastmaster, but they're generally going to have armor score a lot higher once all of their armor and equipment and whatnot is totaled. He has 2 primary abilities plus the Battle Hardened trait. His first ability is Runesmithing, which we'll actually get to in 1 second. Runesmithing allows him to put a rune on a piece of equipment that he's going to summon, and then those runes can do certain things. Very, very powerful, but let's talk about Battle Orders and Battle Hardened first. So, much like the predecessor, he has Battle Orders, which allows him to, once per round, the Warlord may pay 1 mana and cast the following quick command spells. The chosen spell affects all friendly soldiers in his zone at the time it's cast, and the effect lasts until the end of the round. The first of which is Take Aim, which is all ranged attacks gain piercing +2. That is awesome. And then Quick March, gain the Fast trait, and then Hold the Line, gain Armor +1 and Tough -2 traits. Then Battle Hardened means that he's going to get the Warlord has the Tough -2 trait. He also has a basic melee attack equal to 3 base dice. His battle orders are just absolutely insane. The ability to give all ranged attack +2, the ability to give the melee guys fast to get there, and then Hold the Line is just another one that's going to make things just so much more powerful than they already are, and a really, really, really good chance to make sure things die on the battlefield. So let's talk about Runesmithing for a second. Let me grab the token board. So in the base game, you're going to have a few different tokens. Let's get a quick focus here. We have Fortification, which is going to give it armor +1. And again, each of these runes is going to be able to cast 1 time during the battlefield, or rather during the battle, and basically attached to 1 piece of equipment. So if I put the Fortification rune on a piece of equipment, it's going to get the armor +1 trait. If I do Power, it's going to get pay -1 mana, which is going to allow us to pay less mana for things, which is going to be awesome. Precision gives it piercing +1, and shielding gives it defense +2, which is very nice, and reforging gives it the cantrip ability. And the cantrip ability allows the item to essentially act as a cantrip, and what that means is that if it's destroyed, it essentially goes back into the spellbook rather than the discard pile, which is very handy. You can see I've actually punched a few of these out, but they actually fit right back in, and it's a nice way to keep track of these, especially for the video purposes. It's really nice. Okay, now I'd like to just point out a couple different cards here that I think are really handy, and I'll save creatures for last because there's so many of them I'd like to talk about. But let's talk about a few of these different, a couple of these incantations. The first I want to talk about is Ignite. Ignite is just absolutely awesome. It only costs 2. It's a quick action spell with the zone 0 to 2. It's going to target a corporeal creature or conjuration, and it's only 1 mana cost. Ignite says if a target does not already have a burn condition, it receives a burn condition. And this is just nasty. And there are quite a few copies of Ignite in here, it just makes so much sense, and it's such a good spell. And it's plus of the Flame School as well, so this is a way for you as a wizard to be able to throw burn conditions out there and keep those out there, and not have to worry about, or rather, since you get to focus in one of the elemental schools. So fire wizards may be becoming a thing. The second one here I'd like to talk about is Defend. Defend is such a really cool ability. I like it as an incantation because it can be put on a wand. And when you normally use the guard ability, it's basically when you don't take any action, you can choose to guard instead. This allows your creatures to go ahead and take that action, and then you come in afterwards and put a guard condition on them. But basically, it's it costs X, so it's a variable depending on the level of the creature you're casting it on. You target a friendly living creature or non-mage creature. Sorry, a friendly living non-mage creature within 2 zones of you. It's a level 1 war spell. It says place a guard marker on the target if it does not already have a guard marker. X depends on the creature's level. So it'll be paying 1 mana for a level 1 to 2 creature, 3 to 4 costs 2, and 5 or higher costs 3. So the max defend is going to cost you is 3 mana. And this overall is a great way to get that creature guarding. And guarding is such a really, really nice ability. There's a couple very, very prominent... we'll go ahead and do 3, but there's a very, very prominent enchantments here I want to talk about. The first is going to be Rust. Rust costs 2 to cast and then 2 to reveal. Remember, enchantments don't actually take effect until you've revealed them. It is a quick action spell. The target is a creature within 2 zones of you, and it is a water-based spell. It has Mage Bind +1, but the creature gains armor -2. So Rust is the way to make sure that those big creatures who are heavily armored out there become a little bit more squishy. Great spell, especially for a level 1. Lion Savagery may be one of my new favorite enchantments. I really, really like this for Beastmaster. Man, it makes so much sense in a lot of ways. If you've listened to our top 3 pets episode, you put Lion Savagery on something like the Highland Unicorn, it already has a charge rating, and give it piercing. I mean, it's just nasty. It costs 2 to cast, 3 to reveal. It has it's a quick action spell, and again on a living creature within 2 zones of you, and a level 1 nature-based spell. It says this creature can gain the charge +2 trait, and its melee attacks gain the piercing +1 trait. It's just such a nice ability to give things charge and give it piercing and keep it be able to change the ebb and flow of combat pretty easily with this guy. And then we have a Dramelix Touch. This is a curse. It's a flame curse. It costs 2 to cast, 1 to reveal. It's a corporeal creature within 2 squares. It's 1 dark and 1 fire, and it has the Mage Bind +2 trait, which is going to cost you 2 more to reveal this on a mage. Whenever a burn condition on this creature rolls a 0, you may pay 1 mana to prevent its removal. Again, a burn is already such a completely nasty ability, and this is going to make it even more so. It's just so crazy awesome. We have 2 attack spells. We have Devil's Trident here, which I think is one of my new favorite attack spells. It is a level 1 dark, level 1 flame. It's on a creature, 0 to 1. If this was 0 to 2, this would be just completely insane. It's a quick cast. It is a range-based fire attack. Gives you 4 attack dice, and it actually gives you 3 different ways to put a condition on somebody. Also has piercing +2 and defrost. So on a 1 to 2, nothing happens as far as the effect on this dice. But 3 to 5 will give you a cripple, 6 to 8 will give you cripple and burn, and 9 or higher will give you burn. So you have a really, really good percentage chance to get burn, possibly cripple and burn, or just cripple with this ability. You're going to get that on a roll of a d12, but I mean the artwork on this thing is just so nasty, and the ability is just incredibly powerful. And then we have Hurl Rock, which this may be my favorite art as far in this whole set. But this is such a great card, at least looking card. It's a level 1 Earth spell. Again, it's going to cost 4. It's a quick-based spell, or rather quick action spell. It is 0 to 1 creature or conjuration within 1 zone of you. It is a ranged spell. Of course, 5 attack dice, and it does daze on a 9 or higher, which is pretty nice. There are a couple equipments here that I want to stand out. The first of which is Dremelex Torment. It is a 3-cost equipment spell, level 1 dark. It is on the neck piece slot. It's Warlock only, which is very nice to see some Warlock only stuff. It says, at the end of the mage's action phase, they may pay 2 mana to place a burn condition on a target creature. The creature must have no burn conditions and at least 1 revealed curse you control attached to it. So Dremelex Torment is just awesome, and this is something that's going to happen every turn, assuming you've been spreading curses like you should be spreading curses with your Warlock. The other one I'd like to talk about is a War Mage only. This is a Harsh Forge Plate. This is a 8 mana costing piece of armor. It is a level 2 war spell, and again is targeted on the mage. It says, Mage gains armor +2. Enemy-controlled enchantments and incantations which target this mage cost 2 additional mana to cast. So this is a great way to prevent curses from going on your mage and give you a base number of armor, which is very nice. Okay, there's a couple different conjurations here, which are... Oh, excuse me. There are a few different conjurations here I want to talk about. One is the Altar of Carnage. It's a level 8, or rather 8 mana costing spell. It's targeted zone 0 to 1. You're going to place this conjuration down in that zone. It is an altar, an artifact, and a conjuration type. It's a level 2 war spell. It has 2 base armor, 8 health. It is its own exclusive legendary, War Mage only, epic. So it's got a lot of different keywords there. Whenever a friendly soldier attacks and damages an enemy creature, you may place 1 mana on a friendly spawn point or familiar. Each friendly soldier may only trigger this ability once per round. This is a great way to bump your spawn points up, and a really fantastic way to get more creatures on there and get a swarm tactic going with your, with your Warlord. Very, very cool altar here. This next spell may be one of my favorite spells in the entire set. Rolling Fog is completely amazing. It costs 7. It is the entire zone, or rather 0 to 1 zone. It's a level 2 elemental spell. It's indestructible, it has Dissipate 3, Incorporeal, and Epic. It says all objects and zones in the arena have the Obscured trait. This is a fantastic way for you to keep things from getting blown up that you don't want to be blown up, and only a 2 elemental means that this is going to cost 4 for most people to put in their spell books, and that is 4 spell points. I can see a lot of different mages willing to pay in order to put it in there, because this thing is going to be awesome. This has a way for us to keep our precious Altar of Skulls from getting disassembled, and a way to make things just stay that much more, which is really good. And then finally, the wall here I'd like to talk about is the Wall of Earth. This is a 5-cast wall. It is a border of a zone, target within 1 zone of you. It is non-passable. You can't see through it. It has 0 base armor and 8 health. It is extendable. It's immune to lightning and fire, and has Hydro +2, so it's weak against water. But it's just going to be a nice chunk of earth to basically make things impassable and force people to go down a way they may not normally want to, which is great. Alright, so wrap this up. We're going to talk about some of the creatures here, and a lot of these have already been spoiled, but I'd like to go ahead and talk about them anyways because they're really, really good. The Goblin Alchemist may be my favorite creature. I don't know. That may not be true. I really, really like him, though. I think the artwork is absolutely fantastic. This is actually our Facebook cover photo right now because I think it's that cool. It costs 9 to put out there. Again, almost all creatures are full round actions to cast, and they target your zone. This is a level 2 war spell. He comes with 1 base armor, which I think is very, very nice, especially for a goblin, and 8 health. But what I really like about this guy is the amount of utility that he comes with. Look at these 3 different spells here to cast that each do something different, or 3 different actions rather. 2 are full round actions.
They're both ranged attacks, so essentially he's throwing these potions of things at somebody. It's a 0 to 1 range, and those are zones away. One is fire, one is acid based. One does 2 damage base and deals burn on a 5 or higher. One does 3 damage base and deals corrode on a 5 or higher, which is very, very nice. The other is a quick melee action that is a poison action, and it deals 2 base damage and can rot on 8 or higher, which is just a huge ability here. There's a lot of different versatility on this creature, which I really, really like. Next up is the Grumash Orc Sergeant. This Grumash Orc Sergeant is a very cool creature. He costs 11. He is a familiar, which is nice for the Warlord. He's going to have a channeling of 1, base armor of 2, and a health value of 10. He's going to be 3 spell points. He has a quick action attack. It's going to be a melee attack, deals 3 damage, and on a 9 or higher will give the target a bleed token. It is a familiar, he's legendary, and it is available only to the Warlord. But it says Grumash can cast only command spells, including the battle orders of his controlling Warlord. So this is a really, really cool ability. You get him out there, get him on the front lines of your guys, and make sure that he can issue shouts and commands to everybody and make everybody that much more powerful. Huge creature here for the Warlord. And the creature everybody's been talking about here, I mean, I can't have a Forged in Fire conversation without talking about Sardonyx with people. He is Sardonyx, Blight of the Living. He is an undead skeleton dragon. He costs 24 mana, easily being one of the most highly mana-intensive creatures that is going to be in the deck that he's in, probably the most. He's a level 8 dark spell. He has 0 base armor and 31 base life. He has the Psychic Immunity, Unstoppable, Non-Living Legendary trait. And he also has a keyword that says, each upkeep phase, Sardonyx controller loses 2 life. Living creatures in the same zone as Sardonyx gain the Finite Life trait. So this is interesting. So whoever owns Sardonyx is actually going to lose 2 life, which is going to be a bit problematic. But he is going to deal so much damage that it's going to be worth getting him out there. Plus, giving everything finite life in the zone that he's in is just incredible. He has 3 different attacks here. He has Crushing Jaw, which is a quick melee attack that has 5 combat damage. Is piercing +2. He has a full round attack called Tail Sweep, which does 5 damage and has the sweeping trait. And then he has a full round action within 0 to 1 burst attack. Sorry, that's not a burst attack, it's a blast attack that hits all creatures in the zone. It's a poison based attack called Poison Breath. It deals 2 damage and is unavoidable and has on the ability, or rather effect 8 or higher, you get the Rot trait. So this is just something that's completely insane. Let's get a little bit more zoomed in there so you can see it. There's a lot of stuff there here with Sardonyx. I'd like to talk about 2 more creatures here. Sardonyx the Infamiliar. It's a Warlock familiar, which is very nice. Costs 12, level 3 creature. It's going to be channel 1, have 2 armor, 9 health. He has got a quick action attack, fire based for 2. He's going to deal burn on a 7 or higher. He is a familiar, has the flame -2, which means fire's not going to hurt him as much. Legendary and Warlock only. So Sardonyx can only cast level to 1 or 2 fire attacks or level to 1 or 2 in curse enchantments. So it's really nice to have a familiar for the Warlock. I think he's going to be, I don't know if he's going to get a whole lot of play competitively, at least right now, but he is going to be nice for only 12 mana to have something out there that's going to be able to help you push burn around the table or help you curse so that you can use some of your different abilities that give burn tokens. He's going to be very nice to have. Blood Demon was something that I really, really like, especially for our previous Warlock. But Blood Demon, it costs 12. He is a level 3 dark spell. The artwork is incredible on this card. I really love it. He has 1 armor, 11 health. He's vampiric, and he deals 3 damage on a quick melee attack. He has Bloodthirsty +1, which means if they have already taken damage, he's going to get 1 more attack or 1 more attack die, rather. And then he's also flying, which means he's not going to be able to be hit by melee creatures until he is no longer flying, which is something that's really, really big for demons. I mean, there's ways for us to basically keep our creatures out on the board and make our enemies really suffer. So I really, really like the demons that are in this set. It's not about does it here with look at some of the highlights of the cards. On our next video, we will go through and look at every single card here in this set and give you a more detailed overview on everything. But right now, we like to keep this a little lighter, so we'd like to go back to the other shot here for our final thoughts.
Okay, so that's our first video on Forged in Fire. Now, I'd like at this time to express some general thoughts I have with this Spell Tome expansion. One, I think Spell Tome expansions are really good because it allows us to get more components for the overall game of Mage Wars without having to worry about a more expensive expansions. The Spell Tome expansions are generally cost a little less, which I think is really awesome. We're getting two really, really good mages as well. The abilities themselves, although they are not totally unique, the mage names are not totally unique, and it's not a completely alien concept to us. They feel like brand new mages because their abilities stand out so much more than their predecessors. And not necessarily stand out in a better way, but stand out in a different way. It gives us more options and more variety. And at the end of the day, variety is the spice of life. There is a ton of really awesome cards in this, from incantations like Defend, which allows us to place a guard token on a creature. I think Defend is something that's awesome, and I think guarding is something that a lot of new players do, and I think I've expressed this on the Mage Wars Mondays podcast as well, which if I haven't already said, is available on iTunes and Stitcher Smart Radio, or on the Arcane Wonders website, or on Let's Level Up's website. Definitely check that out. Subscribe if you haven't already. And other cards like Ignite. Ignite is just insane. It's a Warlock's dream here. It allows us to place a burn condition on something that doesn't already have it, and we can burn everything down to the ground and then just leave this fiery redhead standing in the middle of ashes victorious. This game has got thematically just makes so much sense. I think if you're a fan of Mage Wars and you really, really enjoy the concept and you've got the money to buy Forged in Fire, there isn't a reason you shouldn't buy it. If you're one of those gamers that absolutely has to have completely unique things in order to expand things, or doesn't really see the sense in expanding, I can see why you'd pass on a regular Spell Tome expansion like this over something like Druid versus Necromancer or Force Master versus Warlord. You get the two new things, and I get that to an extent. I will say, out of the 158 cards that are available here, you get a lot of different, really awesome options. Sardonyx is huge. If you like playing Necromancer, if you like playing Warlock, you definitely want to make sure you get Sardonyx, because you put him out on the table, now there's a bigger bullseye on the board rather than yourself. And if you're a squishy Warlock, you're going to want to make sure that happens. One of my favorite cards in this whole set is the incantation, excuse me here while I find it, Rolling Fog. Rolling Fog has abilities here that is going to allow you to translate the cards from Forged in Fire to any other set. Rolling Fog makes things on this thing, makes objects and zones in the arena have the obscure trait, all objects and zones. So if you are a Necromancer, let's say, and you've got your Altar of Skulls up, and you're trying to make sure that thing doesn't get completely destroyed, make it obscured. It's going to be that much harder to hit. The overall idea here with this is that we basically got a two-player starter set. Now, of course, you're missing the dice, you're missing the different tokens that you're going to need in the game, and the mat, but you've got what you really need for two players to get here to play the game. And this is a great way for two players to get started, because these are kind of diametrically opposed of one another. One's kind of heavy on the defense abilities and using his minions and giving them orders, making them a little bit stronger. And then one is just a complete juggernaut as far as offensive capabilities. So they really work well to each other, again, thematically. It makes a lot of sense. Overall, if I had to rate this expansion, it's right up there with Mage Wars. It's a 9, it's a 10, depending on if you can find people to play with, which is my biggest problem with this game, is I just don't have a lot of players in my area to play this game and enjoy it with. although I do take every opportunity I can to try to play this with people and convert people over. And I've been pretty successful so far. But it's a game, again, I think more players who play Mage Wars are definitely foaming at the mouth for this set than aren't. So I think the players who aren't really excited for this, and what I've based on the Mage Wars community, are the players who just don't really know about Mage Wars yet. So if you are one of those players, I urge you to watch our official review on the Mage Wars core set, and then get into things like the Mage Wars forums, or even our podcast, Mage Wars Mondays, so you can get a little bit more in-depth knowledge, and maybe it won't seem so daunting once you start looking at the different abilities. And that's one of the things I think Mage Wars really excels at, is that the game plays, and I actually chuckled the first time I read this in the the rule booklet. Basically on the first page of the rule booklet, it tells you to play the game as if magic were real. And it's laughable at first, and you think, oh man, these guys are taking themselves way too seriously. But when you stop to think about it, each of these cards is designed that, given in a universe where this could actually happen, how would it happen and it make logical sense? Which I think is what they're trying to say, and they really succeed at that. Things like Devil's Trite having the ability to give 3 different effects, it just makes so much sense. The Warlord dwarf having the Tough 2 trait, again, thematically brings it back to all dwarves being able to be that much more resistant to things. It's just overall fits, and with an expansion, I think that's something that we all look towards. Is it going to completely change the way we play Mage Wars? No, probably not, but it's going to give us more options again, and I think that is really huge for this. So I hope you guys like this. I hope I gave you a good overall idea of what to expect in Forged in Fire. I am very glad I've had the opportunity to look at this and review it for you. Now, our next video, we're going to go through a deck list and show you all the cards that are in there. I will probably stop it at some point to explain some thoughts I have on certain cards, and I hope you like the highlight here that we provided you in the video with different cards. And then finally, we'll wrap up our Forged in Fire coverage with a live playthrough, which I think is going to be a lot of fun. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please give it a thumbs up if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel, and most importantly, game on.